Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube, Dr. Faris.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me welcome ladies and gentlemen to our second webinar on SAF for all. Before we move on further, let's begin with the recitation of Al-Fatiha. Okay, thank you. I first of all have to apologize for the delayed start of this webinar because of some technical difficulties that we faced just now. But things are all in order now, so we can continue. This is a webinar on Sejahtera Academic Framework for All, number 2. If you remember, we had webinar number 1 previously where the panelists were the deputy rectors and they explained their roles and function and how they're going to support this implementation of Sejahtera Academic Framework. So now this time we have the chance to gather our executive directors and also the chief information officer to give their what I call this perspective on SAF and also to engage us in the initiatives in their roles and what will be their how they will support the implementation of Sejahtera Academic Framework. Right? We will have 2 rounds of questionings to our panelists. Before that, I'm sorry, I have to introduce the panelists. Okay, Dato' Abdul Rahim, Dato' Wan Hilmi, Dato' Ahmad Zailan, and also Prof. Dato' Nobik. Yeah, and the session will be moderated by Prof. Ida Madiha. Okay. So it will be 2 rounds of questions, okay, and then after that we will have a Q&A session, and we have to end by 4:30 because at 4:30 we will have our Sejahtera Dialogue program pula. So we try to conclude by then, and to start off this webinar, I would like to call upon our Honorable Rector, Prof. Zul, to give his welcoming remark.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you, Dr. Faris, Prof. Ida as moderators, Dato' Rahim, Dato' Zailan, Dato' Nurbit, and Dato' Wan Hilmi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brothers and sisters. I am indeed very delighted to be here to witness the second round of SAF, which has been launched, I think, just 2 days ago in its physical form. And therefore, it is a notion that is not strange to us anymore, inshallah. So today, I think it's a kind of a momentous day for me to listen to the executive directors and also chief financial officers to reiterate and also interpret the way they see SAF would be implemented at their level. I guess there is no right and wrong answers for this. It depends on your circumstances. And more importantly, I think, is to share information so that everybody can have a kind of understanding of where we are and how we're going to move forward. And I hope this session will be a constructive session that will take us 1 step higher from where we started. The intention of this webinar was basically to familiarize everybody with the situation at hand before we go down to the kuliah to engage you individually and personally at that level. So some of the very core issues will be straightened up so that by the time we meet and discuss at the kuliah level, we are already familiar with some of the basic issues, and we can go on talking about a deeper and also a more meaningful aspects in trying to make SAF a reality within this campus. Yeah? So in the interest of time, I would like to thank all of you for taking this initiative and making this webinar a success, inshallah. And hopefully this will increase the level of understanding, the level of cordiality, and certainly the level of brotherhood and sisterhood among else. So thank you very much and good luck, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion that will take us forward, inshallah. So wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri Rector, for your opening remarks, and thank you for reiterating the objective or the what you call it, the aim of this series of webinars. we have we are what you call this streaming this on two platforms. One is on Zoom and the other one is on YouTube. I believe many of us are on YouTube, right? So questions can be posted in the chat box, and the secretariat will forward the questions to the moderators. Yeah. So Prof Ida, are you ready? Okay, so the floor is yours, Prof.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Faris for allowing me to join the discussion. It is a very important and lively issues in IIUM, particularly with regards to SAF, SAF. That's how we dearly called it, SAF. And we've had the first webinar with the 3 deputy rectors looking at the various strategies the officers are going to introduce to implement on operationalize SAF. But if you remember the last webinar, most of the discussion revolves around curriculum and academic content so as to comply with SAF. But we know that SAF is more than academic programs. If I may quote the SAF book, and I'm sure most of you have read and seen the SAF book, let me just quote what is written in this regard. SAF is not simply about academic programs. SAF is about putting together the elements of IIUM as higher education institution that will provide for an educational experience that is transformational. Now, definitely there is a very lofty ideals. And when you talk about transformation, then of course, you need drivers to move this transformation. And the drivers may not be coming from the academic community of IIUM, but also the 4 important enablers that we have in front of us here. The Management Services Office, the Executive, the Development Office, the Finance Office, and of course, the Chief Information Officer. With that, I would like to shoot my first question to all the 4 panelists. Now, it has been mentioned again and again that SAF requires a whole institution transformation. So as drivers behind the major agencies in the university, you play a critical role to see this through. What changes do you think need to be done, and how would you help to affect those changes? And if I may get Datuk Rahim to start the discussion going, followed by Datuk Wan Helmi, then Datuk Zailan, and ended by Prof. Datuk Dr. Nubik. Yes, Datuk Rahim, the mic is yours.
Okay. Okay, Datuk.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah for giving us the opportunity to be here this afternoon. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof. Ida, the moderator, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rector, for your presence today, the deputy rectors, colleagues. Alhamdulillah, we meet again in this SAF for All session 2. By coincidence, perhaps Prof. Ida mentioned about driver. In fact, we had some discussion. What are the functions of the MSD, finance, development, and also CIO? In fact, we thought that we are the enablers, where we are going to support the SAF agenda. And if we may recall, in the previous SAF session, the 3 deputy directors mentioned that, as Prof. Faris mentioned, the need to have a SAF to be launched in this university and the reasons behind it. And also Prof. Faris mentioned about breaking the silos, meaning that we are going to coordinate with every section of the university to make sure that SAF are being well supported from every level, from the top level until the bottom. And he also mentioned about University Without Soul. These are the agenda that we want to put back IUM in front, leading the way, as Tan Sri Rector has always been saying. Then Prof. Hafiz mentioned about relevancy of research and innovation. And as we realize that we have changed from research to responsible research, meaning that our research should have impact to the society and to the community. And finally, Dr. Zol, Deputy Rector Student Affairs, mentioned on stress on the overall roles of students to bring back IUM to the front. I still recall the video that was played in the first SAF, where a student was being offered some additional money perhaps, and with the amanah given to him, he rejected it. This is what we want to have with our students. Okay. Coincidentally, Prof. Ida mentioned about driver, right? Let me start with my first presentation slide. The driver. Right. This is Schumacher's successor, Lewis Hamilton, the driver. We know that he is a very successful driver. He is in fact the champion of 7 years consequently, and they call it as the drivers championship title. But looking at him, this is a Formula One race. Formula One race, we know the driver, but we don't know who are behind the driver. Okay? These are the team of people that support the driver. The driver could not win unless he has a very good team behind him. For example, he doesn't know the technicality of the tires. When to use which tire to use during wet track and which tires to use during dry track. The only person who knows are the people who change the tire. Even though we see that the function of these people are small, but actually the impact of the successful of the team depends on everyone. Okay, so meaning that we need the driver, we need the people behind the driver from level 1 until bottom, and we also need the machine. The machine meaning in this case is the car, is the Formula One car, all right? Who are behind the Formula One machine? The engineers, the architects, the bolt spinner, the tire changer. So everybody has their part in bringing the organization up. Next, please. Towards the end of the day, this team won the championship, and it has to be dedicated to everyone. And you can see, I also attest they're celebrating. I cannot read. They're celebrating the victory. Example: SA, RCE, Green Ground, etc. And it has to be a combination of the driver, the machine, and the people behind it. Then only we can have a successful organization. Relating to our organization, we need a driver. In this case, perhaps we can say the driver is the Tan Sri Rector, and we are the people who are assisting him to bring SAF, RCE, Green Count to the front. And the driver can also be you at your level. The deans, you are the driver at the kuliah. The director, you are the driver at your centers. And you still need a team of people to support you, right? That is the function of human resource management, and that is the function of Management Services Division, MSD. Okay, that is my introduction. Alhamdulillah. Let's go to the next slide, please. Right. Where are we going, and when and what? We are talking about SAF. Okay. We try to coordinate every factors. For example, 5 pillars of education: learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, learning to live together, and learning to become, without neglecting the maqasid syariah: promotion and protection of religion, promotion and protection of lineage, promotion and protection of property, life, and also intellect. With the support from the SDG aspects, the people, the planet, peace, prosperity, partnership, and we are not forgetting IUM shared values, taqwa, amanah, accountability, which is very important, and finally it's justice. And all these elements, we are not going away from the seven mission of IUM, which is number one, integrated knowledge. Sustainable development. If you notice, sustainable development has been with the university for many years actually. Islamization, or Prokama would like to call it Islamicization. Then Islamic morals, spiritual values, international community, intercultural understanding, and finally deep sense of social responsibility. So these are the elements that has been existed with the university for the last 37, 38 years. Okay, how? The question is, how are we going to integrate everything and make it a reality or a success story? First is we have to change the mindset. No doubt we have been working for the last 30, 20 years with the same mindset. With this new direction or new approach, perhaps we have to change our mindset. And number two is change of culture of working. Rather than receiving, we have to start thinking of giving back to the organization. And this is where the student affairs especially has introduced wakaf time. Wakaf time meaning that you sacrifice your time. At the same time, you will be rewarded in a different manner, meaning that not necessarily in terms of financial, but you will be rewarded in other terms of a reward. Next is fast. Fast is fatona, amanah, siddiq, tabligh. This is not an alien to us actually. This is a characteristic of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The only thing that the arrangement was a little bit different, but the management agrees that to coordinate into fast, not only the characters, but we have to work very fast at a very fast pace, especially in this time. And finally leading the way towards khair. Khair is a khalifah, amanah, ikhra, and rahmatan lil alamin. So putting everything together, we have our strategic initiatives, right? And it is ongoing. Let me tell you that this is a living document, meaning it can be changed, it can be improved, it can be developed, it can be discussed, it can be debated. Number one is humanizing IUM HR policies, procedures, rules, and regulations. In any organization, there must be policies, there must be procedures, there must be rules and regulation. However, these policies, procedures, rules, and regulation are not static. It can be changed from time to time. It can be changed depending on the situation, and it can be changed depending on the challenges that we are faced at the moment, right? So these are the things that we have started doing. One is recruitment of academic staff, assigned project that they are expected to I cannot read that, to profess. Area of, when you say about profess, meaning that area of specialization. Then the process of recruitment for non-academic, framework on selection process for all schemes or services. We introduce a case study, we introduce psychometric tests, we also introduce a language test. At the HR level, we feel that recruitment is a very important process because that is where the entrance level of the organization. If we make mistake in deciding who joined the organization, then it will be very difficult to make the person leave the organization. At the same time, the management also revised APAR. APAR is annual performance appraisal report or assessment report, and also promotion criteria for academic and also for support and also for administrative staff, which are more flexible and more holistic. Another initiative is joint appointment between kuliah, joint appointment between department, joint assignment. We also extended sabbatical leave to the non-academic staff. Previously, only the academic staff were given the sabbatical leave. A secondment of our staff internal and external, and also industrial and clinical attachment. There is some challenges when you say we second our staff outside. At the same time, industrial and clinical attachment, because outside organization will look at, will search for complete product or complete person, meaning that we have trained the person and it is complete. Then if we do some attachment outside, we have the tendency of losing the staff. Okay, number 4 is work from home policy. This is another new policy that we introduced. Perhaps because of the pandemic for the last 1 year, staff started working from home, but then there must be some accountability, some responsibility, and also some job assignment that they have to meet based on the criteria given in the policy. A study leave for staff, so support staff, and also finally is the innovative and creative awards. Another initiative is implementing Sejahtera human resource transformation for all. Okay, a competent assignment given to the management services division is to create a module for competent leaders towards hire, and we have set with Centris, Center for Islamic. Centris. And I think Centris has come with a module for Murabi together with Center for CPD, Center for Professional Development. This module will be introduced to all staff, all levels of staff. And we plan to start it very soon. And this is also the initiative introduced, mentioned during Prof. Faris' presentation. Murabi, everybody is a Murabi. Flexible and holistic APAR and promotion criteria, as I mentioned. Perhaps later we can share you what are the flexibility, what are the holistic that we introduce in APAR and also promotion criteria. A value-based succession planning and leadership program for all staff. We have started this. In fact, we had our first value-based leadership, value-based performance series 1 webinar last 2 weeks, and it was very encouraging. And we plan to have the second one somewhere in April, inshallah. Leadership talk series, and we have started this leadership talk series for since last 2-3 years, and we are going to continue. And training and development programs. And next is the staff career development and revitalization. This is another program that we have recently introduced. And another program is SDG projects for administrative and technical staff, book writings and flagships with the administrators. To the extent currently we have published two or three books, right, for the administrators. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the initiatives that we are doing based on the current situation and based on the current changes and the challenges that we are facing right now. I think for the time being, Prof. Ida, I stop here for you to continue with the next speaker, inshallah. Then perhaps in the second round, we can share other matters, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dato' Rahim. In fact, that's a very good starter for the discussion. Everybody starts wondering whether when we use WIT or whole information institution transformation, whether the whole IIUM is involved or not. Particularly my colleagues, those academics, they were grumbling that SAF involves a lot of work because they have to do curriculum review, they have to do this and that. It is also nice to see that it actually involves everybody and every part of the organization. That's what everybody is wanting to see. Now, I know there was a slight technical glitch on YouTube just now, which has only been resolved. So if you are watching on YouTube and wish to post questions, please refresh your browser to access the chat box, and I'll be dealing with your questions if time permits. Now we then move to Datuk Wan Muhammad Hilmi Wan Kamal to see what are the initiatives that his office have initiated or planned to move this SAF and whole institution transformation. Datuk Wan, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Teknologi. Sorry, Prof. Ida, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In answering your question, Prof. Ida, we will use the slide that we have prepared, and we will follow through and see that the questions will be asked, will be answered. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay. This is one page, very informative information page, telling about the strategic direction of the university, integration with Maqasid Syariah and SDG, and with full institution transformation leading the way, and also underneath the SDGs, we have the success stories that we have achieved so far. Okay, more to come, inshallah. Next. We would like to remind ourselves, whatever we do, this is our main pillar in a way, the vision and mission. And from the missions, we identified 4 directly under our office, and I will not elaborate on that. Next. And you used to see cakes, people say petal, but we are our approach is in this manner, so that all of our staff understood this. And the first is of course this is our overall framework, and the first is of course the strategic directions and the outcomes. Let's say a focus area, high impact initiative, and we are one of the enablers on the sustainable ecosystem. And we call it the Bintang one is all the one that we have directly interrelated to. Okay, which we have to address the bubble, we call it previously. Okay, next. Well, how are we related so far? Of course, we have the facilities that definitely that is 105% we must be involved. Yeah, and under the accredited academic programs, formal academic structure, when we introduce, you call it, sorry, UNGS, yeah. We can see during the presentation by the students, and what the students are showing is very related to what we are doing, and some of our ideas are very, challenging to us to implement it on campus. So we have to understand more what the students are doing, and we'll be able to provide platform for them to, to learn, to learn and to how to do it, and how to manage it. Yeah. Okay. Next. And this is the sub framework for the undergraduates. And I have earlier mentioned the red box dotted one is directly we are involved, and we have education for sustainable development, which we want to support directly. Sometimes we should not just be an enablers, but leading the community into all these aspects, especially the student, and even our academic staff can join and share their expertise with us. Okay, next. We have listened to our deputy rectors earlier on, And we have, not only deputy directors, all the top management in their strategic initiative, and we have picked up few which we can support. Yeah, and we need to discuss and sit down and understand the requirements, because if you were to we need budget, then the process is a bit tedious and takes a longer time, because the process through Rancangan Malaysia, now we are Rancangan Malaysia ke-12, and we have Rolling Plan 1, Rolling Plan 2. We need to understand and come up with proper paper to do the submission. And we know very well that now budget for development is not easy to get. If you were to request 300 million, if you get 3 million, we are very lucky. Yeah, so the way of how we justify the projects and to get funding, we need to change and see how so that we will not distort the operation of a university. I will not go into detail one by one, but rather to say that we listen to the strategic initiative of each top management, and we will take up and further discuss this matter. Are we working in silo? Basically, when we have we started this project, we hope no longer now, or we need to further improve. But if you look at the sustainable ecosystem in the center, we cannot just say sustainable ecosystem from our office. So with working introduction by Council Director, we should not be working in silo. We have pick up like IM flagship projects, and under which is directly or indirectly under us, under the office, the FP6 Indigenous and Traditional Co-Learning Initiative, the Sejahtera Community and Environmental Synergistic Initiative, which we have 5, and the Jungle School, the Peduli Asli, River Fly, innovative electric coasters. Alhamdulillah, all this involve our academic staff, our students, our admin staff, and is very collaborative, and inshallah will produce a better result. Similarly, we have also formed IM task force to address the low carbon campus, and also garden master plan, asset and facilities task force, and also cost analysis task force. And on top of that, the main committee, we have a Go Green Committee. We have subcommittee of Green IT, led by, of course, from ITD, Green Transportation, from our Kuliah of Engineering, one of our academic staff, Built Environment too, from Kuliah of Architecture, and Landscape and Biodiversity is also Kuliah of Architecture. Yeah, and Waste Management, Kuliah of Science is taking the lead, and Energy and Water, our office are taking the lead, but with support coming from the Kuliah, especially Kuliah of Engineering. Yeah, and we also pick up the SDG administrators projects, and we list down few which support the sustainable ecosystem. I believe this is not the end of the project. Will be more coming in the future. Next. We have identified 5 impact strategic initiatives, sustainable ecosystem for 21-22. Number 1 is 1 to 3, all basically about energy saving. Either you have solar photovoltaic solar for the campus, or you have energy efficient project, and also solar for Kuantan, and water conservation and food waste composting of Gombak and Kuantan campus, which we need to do it much better to produce better result. Next. So, this is what we are going to do under the strategy initiative. The main strategy initiative we have highlighted earlier on, and we hope to achieve the KPI of saving of 10.2 million per year, and we'll be able to reduce carbon about 745,000 tons for the next 25 years, and 47,000 trees per year. Yeah, and basically wonders whether is that achievable? Yes, inshallah, because we have tested with one Gombak project under energy efficiency, and I knew the saving is about 35%. That is equivalent of 8.6 million per year. So what is your contribution, our contribution to this? For the kuliah, you may want to take not the whole project, but to support this energy efficiency project, the energy saving project. You may want to, change the culture, change the behavior change, because if we were to change we have the behavior change, we were told that from the study, you can save another 20% of the electricity budget for the campus. And similarly for the water, if kita rector selalu reminded us, ambil air semayang macam nak mandi. So maybe we take our own initiative, kurangkan the volumes of water, and sikit-sikit pun at least we have some saving, and it can goes to replenishment of the assets that we have on campus. Next. So basically, we are saying we are doing it as creating eco-BR via khair and for khair. And how we do it based on khair, Khalifah-based governance, Amanah-based implementation. I will not into detail. Deployment of latest technology and knowledge and technology, which is IQRA, and all-inclusive Rahmatan lil Alamin, the development. And with that, Prof. Ida will stop there. And thank you very much. And the last one is just a reminder to all of us that we are Khalifah on this and on earth, and we need to do right things right. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Datuk Wan. In fact, from his presentation, he has explained all the various initiatives that his office have embarked on, this RCN Greater Gombak initiatives, as well as how it will promote SAF. So as you can see, this whole institution transformation is really happening. Almost all officers are into this SAF. And maybe with that, we can ask Datuk Haji Ahmad Zailan, who is in charge of finance, one of the most important enabler in every institution. And maybe Datuk Zailan can come in and explain how his office is coming up with initiatives and to elevate and promote SAF and whole institution transformation. The mic is yours, Datuk Zailan.
Thank you, Prof. Eda, Tan Sri Rector, panel members, and member of our UIA community, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much, Prof. Eda. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As rightly mentioned, sometimes it's good to have listen to everybody talk and their thought in all with regard of SAF, because as an enabler under our part and parcel of our roadmap in this university, we have to provide, I think, everything. I have to provide, especially on the financial part, So the role as the role of as a driver in organization, we in finance division, there's a lot of things to do here. It's a real challenge for us for the last 4 or 5 years. Way back in 1922, I think managing the fund before 2015 is much more easier rather than it's a challenge for me for my last 5 years of my service, that the challenges is there. And then the real challenge is last year, whereby all after giving us the commitment from the government, but at the end of the period, even at, I think in the month of November or December, they are saying to us, especially all the US, that there will be a cut in our budget. This is a real challenge for us last year, whereby we have a cut toward the end of the year more than 20 million. So managing finance in a university like this is a real challenge for us. If you give me an option whether to manage financial in the corporate whereby the bottom line is only the baseline, we knew whatever they want as compared to managing finance in university is better for us to have a real to manage the corporate, because we are very real in whatever figures that they are required to the end of the year. But in managing the finance of the university, we are looking at to support whatever initiative done by the university, regardless whatever. As now previously, I remember very well once we are going for research U, all our expenses, all our money goes toward achieving the research university. But in the case right now, we are looking at staff. It's not great change in the initiative, whereby as a finance people, we have to provide whatever initiative done by university, unless they are throw away all the teaching and learning, that one, then I think there is a real changes in the university. But still, our core business to give to provide education to the staff or the nation citizen, so the function is still there. How we do it is a different issue. So for us in the finance division, we will make sure that, so as part and parcel of enabler, I think in the first roadmap, if I can share with you our roadmap, Secretariat, you can share with us. Secretariat, is any slide for us, for me? Okay, this is the one. Goes to number 2 and number three. So this is how, where are we is here as, go back to the previous slide. Go back to the previous slide. In the roadmap, equitable prosperity, we are talking about equitable prosperity as a strategic outcome, institutional stability as enabler, equitable prosperity. So we as a champion of this one, the most important thing, we have to make sure whatever we want to achieve our ultimate objective, we have to achieve, and we have to back with a, not to say strong financial structure, but we have to channel and to focus all our expenditure towards achieving this objective. So that is what our function are. So next slide, please. So the most important thing is that in the equitable prosperity, as mentioned quite several times with the rector, that the first thing, before we are talking about distribution of our prosperity, equitable prosperity, we have to talk about where the money, where the resources must have to come first. So that's why we are talking here in my roadmap, we are talking about the income and also who are we going to give the money for. So that is the challenge for us for next year. So as part of our strategy in our roadmap in achieving the SAF is that the most important thing is the change of mindset. The change mindset is not only for the staff, but only the not only the staff and also the leaders, the student, and also other stakeholder towards achieving this objective. The mindset is that the thinking of 100% depending from the government is no longer there. Previously, as mentioned just now, previously, way back 2015 and below, we just mentioned I had a problem in 2009 or 2000 in way back 2000, whereby we have deficit of 25 million. So we just request from our stakeholder that we can recover it easily, but not now. So the challenge is there. The changing of mindset of people whereby financial management is very, very important in whatever you want to do. For example, you want to introduce new things in this ministry, for example, changing of program. That is, I think it's very clear in our form, there is a financial implication. I'm hoping that everyone will know that what is the financial implication incurred in order to introduce any new program in the university. So that is our experience right now. But not by now, the head, the dean, the dean and the deputy dean, the head of department has fully aware that any product, any introducing of new program, the financial implication must be there, rather than putting no financial implication. I have experienced once we put no financial implication, no parties will consider any requirement of financial requirement in the future. This is our real problem in this university. So the changing of mindset is very, very important. So that's number one. Number two, the income generation part of the university. Previously, we don't even care what is our total income that received by university. So from our financial statement, it's clearly stated that the major income, yes, from the government, amounting up to 80%. 10% is our income generation, but this one was neglected before simply because if we have shortfall of our money, any deficit in our fund, we request from the government, then the government will be considered the money for us. So this is a real thing for the future. So in terms of income generation, is very, very crucial for our university. We are not talking about to cover the total cost of total operation of the university, which is nearly 600 million. We are talking about 100 to 150 million a year. This is what we're supposed to generate the income. So it's very, very important for us. The depending 100% of the government make us more, if the higher that, the more money that request from the government, the more control will we get from the government. We are talking about autonomy. If we talk about autonomy, make sure that you have the financial autonomy. Then we can focus our direction and we can format our roadmap to where we want to be. So that is very, very important. So another issue is that this is another old mindset whereby education is a public good, that we have to totally depend from the government. Okay? So with that, that's what makes us a really problem for us. The government, the stakeholder, the government's claim that it's a public good, but it doesn't finance it 100%. And that's make us very, very difficult into managing of finance. So the third one is the demand of our client out there is very, very demanding. For example, the student, the total payment by the student is only not even 10% of the total cost of total cost, but the demand is a lot. So we have to look into all these things. We have to judge everything. It's a real challenge for us. So as a financial to overcome, number one, to overcome our shortfall for the last how many years, and then to generate more income. Then another challenge is that this is one part of our initiative, that our intensify of our asset utilization, whereby I think all in all, for example, our hospital, our utilization is only about 50 to not even 50%. So we have to relook back in our asset utilization of all it. It's not only the hospital, even in our university. For example, our hostel, we can accommodate about 16,000 in Gombak. We are utilizing, the maximum that we are utilizing it is only about 13,000. This is what happened in the university right now. So there's a lot of wastage, and so to overcome that, we have a several strategy on that to overcome all these issues in terms of financial. Because in financial management, it's very, very simple. Everything is quantified. We can easily convert into money, whereby by having dollar and cent, people will look into that. How much money they were incurred to produce a student, for example. So by having all this figure, this data, we easily for us to make some analysis, and then we know that how many percent that all the equipment, all our asset being utilized in this university. So among the other initiative that we would like to have is that increase in cost saving, increase on productivities. We will discuss about it later. And then the most important thing, we have been neglected for quite some time, the Wakaf and the endowment initiative, as mentioned several times by our rector, that the first university, success university, is been set up based on Wakaf. So in our university, to some extent, we have some equipment, some building or some endowment has been done in our university. We do provide some scholarship for the student, but we have to do more on this, especially in terms of financing of our building. So after having said that, on our initiative, we have to look how we distribute the money. So we have identified based on the beneficiaries of what we have. Number one, our stakeholder, the government, as we well aware of their need, so have to fulfill their need. Based on their need, that was the money given to us in the term of operating grant. So the student also, we identify their needs, which we will discuss later, the staff, KCDION, service provider, alumni and retreats, then surrounding environment, this one. The surrounding community, and also our environment. So I think among other things that we would like to emphasize here is that the number one is a changing of mindset, and then the new way of doing things in terms of financial management of the university is very, very difficult, getting very, very tough and tougher for the future years. I'm not so sure whether this year we have as been promised by the central agencies, we are okay with about the with regard the operating grant, the development grant, and also our research that been given to us. But I'm not so sure whether it will last until end of the year. We are hoping that it will last until end of the year. I'm hoping that the history of last year will not repeat for the second time this year. Thank you very much for time being, Prof. Ida.
Thank you very much, Datuk Zailan. In fact, Datuk Zailan mentioned the word, it's time to change the mindset. And that has been mentioned, I think, twice or three times already. And that's what SOF is all about, the fact that together with the institution, we at individual level, but also all the drivers and enablers must change so that we'll be able to transform the institution to achieve the greater and noble objectives of SOF. We then move to the Chief Information Officer, Professor Datuk Dr. Norbert Bashar Idris. Now that internet connectivity and online environment is very, very important. And with COVID-19, we've moved overnight to online learning and teaching. So Prof. Datuk definitely have a very big role to play, how to navigate all these challenges and at the same time promote and elevate SOF. Yes, Datuk Dr. Norbert, the mic is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to share my screen. Can the host allow me to share my screen, please? Okay. Right. I have called or I've put a title here for my talk, Enabling SOF for All, ICT Perspectives. And personally, for me, the concept and the idea of SAF is quite an intriguing thing, something that is very interesting and has very nice ambition and so on. And I'd like to touch on that issue of the beauty, what I consider as the beauty of SAF as for a few minutes. And then I will dwell into the managing the or enabling the SAF for all from the ICT perspective. There is one striking explanation about SAF that I hope for those who have read, you have seen this, and that SAF is both old and new. To me, this is a very interesting concept. And I think it is a concept which we all, as the people who are going to run and execute SAF, to understand this. In my understanding, it draws parallel with the realities or with the fact that we learn about our religion. There are things that are old, and there are also things that are new. I think things that are old, as far as SAF is concerned, is these are the mission and the pillars of the university, relating it to the falsafah pendidikan negara and so on and so on. And I think the old part of SAF is actually reassuring and reaffirming the existence of the continuity of this old mission and pillars. And there is also the new part that SAF is trying to promote and to push because things change. And to me, this draws parallel with our understanding of Islam. In Islam, there are things which are old, it continues, and it remains there. I would like to extract one verse from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتِ. I assume those who are in IIUM, you know the translation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He raised one prophet after another with one single, all continuous message. And that message is, اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتِ. Now, to me, this draws parallel to the old elements of what SAF is trying to carry. The original mission of IIUM, the vision, the intention of those who have come before us. And like the prophet, you know, we come and go. The leadership of IIUM come and go. Like the prophets, one after another follow. Rectors come and go, and what more people like me who's just managing the IT, we come and go. But there is that part that stays. And I guess for those who are in IUM, we have to realize that reassurance and that reaffirmation of the SAF is what is contained in the old component of SAF. Now, the other component of SAF is the new part. And the new part is because change happens. Change always happens. And when change happens, there is need to refresh and reaffirm the basic pillars and mission, but we embrace change. With SAF, things are going to get more flexible. There will be micro-credentials and stuff like this. These are changes which are only not put to us by MOHI and the government, but these are new development, new changes in delivering education and so on. And I like to relate this to one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Rasul ﷺ mentioned that changes happen and there will be people who are needed to manage the change. And despite the change, there is also a need to reaffirm the old and the basic principle that is there. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يبعث لهذه الأمة على رأس كل 100 سنة من يجدد لها دينها. This talk about, you know, Allah will raise among this ummah people who will not only reaffirm the basic mission and vision, but they are also there to manage new changes that has happened. There are changes from our time compared to 100 years ago. IoT was conceived 5 years ago. Data analytics, AI, and so on. These are new things. And these are new things which are going to be embraced in SAF that the leaders of the university have to really manage and try to deliver, inshallah. I find that this beauty between old and new really relates well to what we understand about the basic understanding in Islam from the Tawhidic basic mission of the prophets, and yet there are changes that have to be managed from time to time. So managing changes, this is where I really want to lead the next slide. Because to me, I mean, as someone managing the IT thing, I like to manage things just using basic principles. And it's easy to implement basic things, easy from the conceptual perspective, but it's still challenging from the real perspective. And I'm not an expert or guru on management, but my little understanding of management is that there are three elements for successful transformation. There is the people, there is the process, and there is the technology. So from my perspective, or from the way I see it, we are going to pounce on this. And we have planned a couple of strategic initiatives, which we have put together in the form of clusters. And these are the clusters that we believe, inshallah, will strengthen and enable the implementation and the support for the SAF itself. I go very briefly with this. Number one is the technological solutions. This is the technology part of the triangle. Many things in our campus really need upgrading. The network, the connectivity, and so on. Alhamdulillah, we still survive up to now, but they definitely need upgrading. What more when the audience and the students of the universities are from all over the world. Last semester, I had my students from Bangladesh and also from Mahala Ruqayya. And unfortunately, sometimes the connectivity to Bangladesh is better than the connectivity to Mahala Ruqayya. These are the realities. And definitely, we will have to look into this technological upgrade and solution. The second cluster is knowledge management. What is knowledge? The bread and butter, the thing that we are managing in the university is knowledge. We share knowledge with the student, we generate new knowledge, we innovate things based on knowledge, and we capture, we store them, we make analysis, and we produce new knowledge. We feel that this aspect of knowledge has not been well managed, and this is one of the initiatives that ITD and library, we are really planning to work stronger on this second cluster. The third cluster is security. As we migrate a lot of our activities onto the cyber world, we don't like Zoom bombing. We don't like to be hacked. And we don't like people to just change the figures in marks, record, and so on. We don't like our machine to be hijacked and so on. Cybersecurity is going to be another dominant agenda that we have to manage as we work forward to support and enable SAF. More than that, where are the practical policies and SOPs? People now work from home. Nobody watches me when I work at home. The bed is nearby, the TV is nearby, the refrigerator is nearby. What are the policies that we bring things from the office home? We bring machine, we bring documents, and so on. So these are new development that we definitely have to manage as far as the latest post-pandemic things that are happening. And last but not least, the fifth cluster is we really, ITD really need to relook and reorganize and redeploy our staff. Because as the university and as any organization moves strongly into the cyber world, the need to quickly assemble teams to manage the network. One professor after another requests a webinar, and ITD has frantically, we run out of people to manage the network facilities and so on. So these are the general cluster that we have planned for the universities. And going into a bit more detail about each of them very briefly. Number one is the SAF IT system itself. We are for the SAF. We know that it is good. It has been conceived very well. It has that old and new version thing. But people are asking, where is the system that will support it in its implementation? We already have systems so far in the university. It's not perfect, but we are studying it, and we need to really improve the IT system that is there. Second thing is these are very much technology upgrade. I don't know how much you are aware, but the EA, Enterprise Architecture, is an architecture that is being pushed strongly by the government to all organizations, including universities. And we really want to be among the earliest to put this into practice, because EA will be the foundation for all future systems developed in this university. Next, the backbone. I keep mentioning the backbone is old, is quite scary, and when there is thunder and lightning, things get very nervous for people like me. But alhamdulillah, we survived so far. But definitely we need to upgrade this within the means that we have progressively. Wi-Fi is something that we all want. We like the mobility, and the aim is to have this in KCDIOM. Alhamdulillah, in Gomba, all the 17 mahallah should have a good Wi-Fi capabilities. I mean, there are blind spot here and there, but we work with the vendors all the time to keep improving and so on. The need to migrate to the cloud is something that, I mean, the Prime Minister launched my digital blueprint just last week. And in that blueprint, it is the intention of the country, especially public sector, that 80% of the data in the public sector will now move to the cloud by the end of 2022. Alhamdulillah, UIA, we were daring enough among the first to really try our luck with migrating the iTalim onto the cloud. We had teething problem, we have challenges, but we went through very valuable experience, which we are now being asked about it by people in the ministry, from other universities and so on. But progressively, we want to move to the cloud with other systems and so on. API systems that exist are not well integrated, and we have pushed that API is the technology that we're going to be using to try to really put this thing together and create a system that will be integrated and useful for the university community and to support the staff, as well as trying to provide as much tool as possible to deliver the task. Okay, cluster number 2 is knowledge. This is straightforward. There are a lot of knowledge which have been missed. Good people like Prof. Kamal left the university, but did we manage to gather and collect the knowledge that he has, especially tacit knowledge? We're going to be working with the library a lot on this, collecting, archiving, analyzing, and producing new knowledge. Knowledge is a very important commodity that organization like IIUM is playing with. I mentioned cybersecurity. We learned through the hard way on a couple of instances. Cybersecurity is going to be a very dominant issue for all organizations as we move post-pandemic. So this is something that is also in our agenda. Cluster number 4 is on policies and SOPs. We need a BCP, a system in which if everything else fails in Gomba, we have somewhere else as a mirror. So that gaji boleh dibayar, nobody complain about salary, whatever, even though Gomba completely fails and break out. So the BCP is important. The policies in managing vendor, the policies in doing work from home, remote learning, organizing webinar and so on. This practical thing, especially on the cybersecurity issue, is something that we have to acculturize in this university. And of course, other agenda on sustainability, green and so on. Okay, the last cluster briefly is about the human resource. And as I mentioned, we will really need to take stock of this, upgrade, reorganize and redeploy as things really happen a lot at the central agencies, perhaps a lot less now in the KCDIOM and so on. Okay, I think I want to go a bit more. Am I okay, Pravida, or you need to stop me there?
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Now, those are the plans. And as someone who have really to manage this for the university, we are really expecting a lot of changes. This is the second hadith that I mentioned. Changes happen, and we expect it to happen. You know, a lot of people now feel they really like working from home. And studies that have been produced in companies, in public sector, 75% of the people who are actually on working from home. And when they are asked, more than 50% always say, I like to continue working from home. And I really like it. Of course we like it because we can manage our kids, we can manage the food, we can make coffee easily and so on. But then there are other issues that come out. And we also observed that in 2020, webinar, virtual conference and meetings, this thrived very well in 2020. This was a huge migration to the cyber world. And people are getting used to this. People like this. But there are implications as far as human resources are concerned. So we need to come up with policies, practical policies to manage this. Many organizations are actually not prepared for this transition. They don't understand the actual requirements, I mean, the benefit, the limitations, and so on. And of course, there are some work that cannot be accomplished from home. I mean, if you are a gardener in the university, how can you work from home if you are a gardener? Or if you are a driver and so on, how can you work from home if you are a driver? So there are really nice changes like this. And I really want to relate this to the hadith I mentioned, that the current people, the leaders of the university, really have to manage this interesting and exciting time, and as well as challenging time. Other things that are happening, the cybersecurity, I cannot emphasize this more. The flexible schedule, I mean, we check in Huris from home. Who watch us? Nobody watch us. You can click Huris any way you like. And there, the values that are there in the stuff, you know, if you realize that the taqwa that we should carry within ourselves, it should give us some guidance as to how we manage our sincerity and integrity in doing work, despite the flexible schedule and so on. The work that we produce, can our superior or our boss verify and validate them? These are new issues that have come out with the migration of a lot of activities onto the cyber world. People find that upgrading of skills are now becoming less possible because they don't have peers that they can ask around easily and look at their work and so on. And work from home so far has positive and negative experiences. A lot of people feel that I like to work from home. I don't have to travel, I don't have the traffic jam. I can organize myself, complete the work on time and so on. And as a person managing my family, my work and so on, I think that work from home is nice. But the negative things are also there. Like I said, not all tasks can be worked from remote. It is difficult to validate and check works. What do you bring from the office home? The security and the confidentiality of it, and the lack of peer learning and motivation and so on. So with remote education, I didn't see any of my students last semester. Many of them from overseas, many are in Mahalla, but I lost that touch with them. There are many of them I didn't even see their face. So these are challenging things that Murabbi in the university need to manage. SAF will need us to become Murabbi in such a situation in which cheating is easier online. Cheating is easier. Exam cheating, assignment cheating, and so on. And we work with many partners. I mean, we share this in the ministry. We share with friends from all over the world. How actually do you manage this kind of thing in your university? We even share with the group in the UK how these things are being managed. These are interesting observations and challenges that IT people have to now think about. For reliable infra, what is there? Like I said, alhamdulillah, we decided on the cloud, and we will definitely proceed and go on with that. We believe that, and alhamdulillah, our decision really tallies with the way how the government wants it to be. So there are some experience, teething ones, but there were also lucky moments. and the staff now have to migrate into the capability of programming the usual way into programming on cloud applications. These are new challenges that we also have to manage. And as far as the people process technology, technology alone is never enough. Without the taqwa, I have a note here between Umar ibn al-Khattab and the young shepherd. Omar was with the young shepherd. He told the young boy, give me some of your sheep. And then you just tell your owner that the sheep was, eaten by the wolf or whatever. But the way the boy answered, it's just that, yes, I may not know, but the Rabb of the owner knows. This is a question of integrity. This is a question of accountability. And this is very much among the essence that is there in the soft that we are proposing. Technology is never enough without the taqwa issue. The process is never enough. Heuris, people can play around with heuris unless we have that feeling of fear of Allah and so on. So these are the human part of the soft. Okay. I like to be quite fast because I think I've taken so much of the time. SAF was born at such a time in which open education is the concept. And our staff will be benchmarked against other staff from other universities. And online learning will accelerate this. I was teaching my subject, there were other students that came from other universities, RU universities, to attend the subject because they heard that, oh, this particular lecturer is better there and so on. We are facing this kind of situation. So we are going to be benchmarked at such an open, flexible time against peers from other universities. And as we go into micro-credentials, we will get people from the public suddenly wanting to do a few parts of the subjects, bankers and so on. We are going to face situation like this. And the people in the university who are part of this, inshallah, will get ready. Are we ready for this? Most of the time we are not, but inshallah, we will soldier on and try our best. And we are operating in what I call the VUCA time. The VUCA time, VUCA is a concept that we touched a lot when we were doing the ACAP value-based thing, inshallah. So that's my last slide. Thank you very much, Prof. Ida, for allowing me a lot of time. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The reason why I gave the flexibility of time to the speakers is the panelists is because it's not often that we got this one-to-one session with important officers in IIUM. It's always about academic curriculum and content, and this is the only session that we get to interact with important officers in IIUM. Prof. Norbert mentioned one important thing, the fact that SAF is consisting of old and new, and with all these changes with COVID-19 pandemic and new technology, it's time for us to embrace change. And it's not easy to do this because it involves people, process, and technology. While it's easy to come up with all the processes, and as you can see, all four officers, the management services, the development, finance, and even yourself, has outlined very credible, pragmatic, implementable, strong strategic initiatives, but it's not always easy to change people and to change mindset. Before we move on to the second cycle, maybe we can collect some of the questions from the viewers so that we look more interactive than anything. There is a question from Ahmad Ash'ari here, interested in knowing more about the work from home policy. Like Prof. Norbert mentioned just now as well, I think most people want this work from home policy to continue even after the pandemic. So is it only for during pandemic, or can it be applied after pandemic too? I think that question is addressed to Datuk Rahim. Yes, Datuk Rahim, if you can respond to that question briefly.
This is something new to everybody actually working from home or working from anywhere. In fact, I saw somebody comment in the Facebook working from Starbucks, But then to us, to me especially, is really the outcome of the working from home, which is the challenge actually. And Prof. Norbik did mention it. We have to. It's all up to the integrity and the accountability of the person, right? And if you ask me personally, I would prefer working in the office because we have been working, face to face. But at the early stage of working from home, I think everybody was confused, right? You were at home, but you're not sure what to do or how to do it. But then towards the process of 1 year, I think everybody got to know or to understand how to work from anywhere, as long as you have a very high discipline, self-discipline, your integrity is intact, and also you know that you are accountable for, right? As long as you complete or you finish the task given to you. Now we go back to the assessment. It's not an easy method to assess when you work from home. But to me, personally, I think as long as you are given a task and you complete the task accordingly and without any delays, without any mistakes or errors, it should be acceptable during this situation, pandemic situation. But then when the time improves, perhaps this is based from our simple observation and our simple uh, survey. Majority of the staff prefers to work in the office, coming back to the office, because the challenges at home and the challenges in the office are different. At home, meaning that while working, you still have to manage the home, especially for the ladies, right? You still have to cook, you still have to take care of the children, you still have to do all those home chores. So hopefully after the pandemics, we will come with a sets of working anywhere and also working in the office. At this moment, let us wait until the pandemic clears, and I think the management will decide whether the working from home will continue, or it could be a partial working from home, or there are ways of doing things, inshallah. That is my response, simple response for the time being.
Thank you very much, Datuk Rahim, for a very positive response. Actually, I want to make a correction here. The question was actually from an anonymous person from YouTube. There are another two questions maybe addressed to Datuk Zailan, right? This is a question from Dr. Suhaimi Muhammad Sarif. Money is very important for organizational perpetual existence. How could this SAF position the money generation? Are all of us to be part of money generation? Just one question to Datuk Zailan. And then we move to the third question, which is addressed to Datuk Rahim, I think. How would IIUM evaluate staff performance based on SAF? Like what are the items for Khalifah, Amanah, Iqra, and Rahmatan lil Alamin? Maybe we'll start with Datuk Zailan first and Datuk Rahim.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, money, as mentioned by, I remember mentioned by Ustaz Badli, money is not everything. Tetapi everything, you need money to do everything. And duit bukanlah segala-galanya. Tetapi we need money to do kita memerlukan duit untuk segala-galanya itu. So that is how in the university right now, as what is as I mentioned just now, it's under our strategic initiative, we do mention about how we're going to generate the income. So we don't need for us to think about the salary, which is the major component of our expenditure in our operating expenditure. Our operating expenditure. This is major component. It's about 60-70%. This one has been promised to us will be taken care by the government. So what we need is another 40 or 30% of the income to be generated internally. We have identified several issues in our strategic initiative. For example, our main product, just now as mentioned just now in the first session, is that our income mainly come from our fees, but we have a restriction by the government that we can't increase our fees. This is not now. It's been seen ever since the inception of the university, whereby we cannot increase our fees as what we wish. So we have under means of generating income. What has been controlled by the government, has been tapped by the government, is only for undergraduate program. But for the postgraduate program, we have to formulate our own fees if we dare to do it. But we have to balance up with the requirement of the market, and also what is the market rate as compared with other universities. And that is one of the initiative that we want to have, income generation through tuition fees. The second one is when I think we will deliberate near our strategic objectives, is that we have our asset which we can rent it out to the public. I think we do it now, but we have more asset to be rented to outside. So we have to be aggressive enough in terms of marketing all our facilities so that we can generate more income out of it. For your information, our income generation out of it is every year in the tune of $5 million, but we can push up to 7 to 8 million by whatever space and also equipment that we have. That's another way of doing that. But the most important thing we would like to emphasize here, the initiative of our wakaf and endowment. This is very, very lightly, I call it the financial resources. Even some of the university been survived all the way based on the wakaf. So this is the thing that as at now we have several building that has been wakaf by someone which can generate income. And eventually whatever income that we generated from that wakaf building, we can give it back to the student as part of the scholarship. That's what happened in university right now. We have 3 buildings for that exercise. But we do have one, but it's not been popularized yet. The Wadi Budi building that has been wakaf for quite some time, when we expected most of our staff can contribute $5, $10, or $20 a month so that we can get this building for free. And then whatever income generated for that particular building can be contributed to the staff or to the student. And also whatever whatever activities done in that particular building is part of contribution or sadaqah to the donor. That's what the strategy is. We would like to emphasize in this year and 2021. My experience going to Gontor, simply because I would like to see how they manage Gontor through wakaf exercise. But they are quite fortunate that they has been done it since during the kindergarten. They have all sort of education center from kindergarten up to university level. University come only in 5 years back. So they have generated all the institution before. For example, the pesantren, the school was financed through their wakaf. Wakaf is not only money donation from the people, but what they call it is wakaf economy. All been done internally, and this internal, for example, they plant their paddy on their own. They use the paddy for the purpose of feeding all the student and also the family of the community of Gontor. This is how they finance Gontor finance themselves. They have their own printing company. They have their own some food manufacturing, something like that. There is a lot of things. So people like Gontor can exercise that. I think international university like us, if we can do even up to 30, I could say 30 to 50%, 40% of Gontor is quite a shame to us. That's what my response. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zailan, for the response. Maybe Dr. Rahim can respond in 1 or 2 minutes because we are running short of time. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. The question was, how would IUM evaluate staff performance based on SAF? Okay, let us try to understand that SAF is not something new actually. It is an enhancement of the curriculum that we have, meaning that we have been evaluating our staff based on the evaluation system that we have, right? So the evaluation will be still the same, but perhaps the focus or the stress is more on the community services. For academics, for example, you still have to teach, you still have to do research, you still have to do publication, right? And meaning that this is what the academics has been doing for the last many years. But in SAF, perhaps there are some focus on community engagement, community services. We did this previously, but it was not nicely measured, But in this assessment, in this new assessment, the community services will be assessed fairly, meaning that, example, research, a responsible research, not just a mere research, then we keep it. But this time it's a research that has impact to the community. So I think the assessment will be the same, like what we have been doing at assessment previously for the academic, for the admin, it's the same. The focus of the assessment, perhaps there will be some focus on certain areas. I have to repeat this: teaching supervision will be the same for the academics. Research has to be done, publication has to be published, and research publication, professional practices, services, and also the additional one is the impactful contribution to the communities. I think that is a huge difference between the previous curriculum and also SAF. I hope I have answered the question. Inshallah.
Thank you, Datuk Rahim, especially the reinforcement that SAF is nothing new. It's a combination of new and old. While we now move to second round, I will go very quickly and each of the panelists will try to answer it within 2 minutes. This is a question addressed to Datuk Wan. Conducive learning environment is a precursor to effective teaching and learning, and SAF do not confine this only to the classroom environment. Instead, SAF promotes the idea of bi'ah solihah, where the ecosystem does not simply support, but at times is the driver towards realizing the transformative education process. How do you see the principle of empowerment can be interpreted to empower IIUM community in ensuring sustainable and conducive nurturing environment on campus? What are the roles to be played by each segment of the campus community? Now, I know the question is long, but your time is only 2 minutes to answer the question.
Thank you, Pravida. Let me use the earlier slide that we have. No, sorry. Say for example, the IIM Grow Green Committee that we have, all headed not from my division. Yes, this one. Let's just focus on Go Green Committee. We have various subcommittee and we are talking about empowerment. The next level will be for the next kuliah. I spoke to Prof. KY, the campus director, that set up this Go Green Committee 2 in Kuantan, don't rely too much in Gombak and compete and beat Gombak. So that finally, with that empowerment, we will have a better sustainable ecosystem. We will achieve that. Similarly for energy and water waste management, which we have started in Gombak, and people in the Mahala is actively on this, and we are supporting them, not only but also the contractor, the laborers also coming in, and even the academic staff from the College of Engineering are also involved in this kind of thing. I believe that is empowerment, and inshallah we will produce result based on this initiative. Thank you, Pravida.
Thank you, Datuk Rahim, Datuk Hilmi, for a short and concise answer. The next question is to Datuk Rahim. It takes the whole campus community to educate the student. SAF acknowledges the role played by non-academic, assuming the teaching roles, such as the teaching assistants, the demonstration leaders, the lab technicians, the clinical trainers, among others. How can and will this be assessed? Will the selection and promotion criteria of staff change? Half of the university are non-academic, but they are part of the Murabi. How flexibility will be embedded in our HR policy and practices in order to address this? Yes, Datuk Rahim, the mic is yours.
Yes. Can I share the slide? Yeah. Can you see the slide now?
Yes.
Okay, right. Very tough question actually, but I try to respond to it. Okay. As I mentioned in my presentation, everybody involved in the moving of the organization, and definitely we understand that staff is not only depending on the academics but also from the other aspect of the staff. So this is the assessment that we are looking into, the annual performance appraisal report, right? As I mentioned, for the academic staff, teaching and supervision will still be there, learning to know and learning to do, research and publication, and for learning to live together, community engagement, this is where the stress will be on, flagship projects, SDGs, and also networking, then innovation, services and consultancy, awards and recognition, and also personal quality academic administrators, and also Rahmatan lil Alamin. Okay, the bottom part is for the administrative and technical staff. Okay, we are looking into their job outputs in accordance to the job specification, meaning that based on your job list, what are the tasks that you are given to you. At the same time, knowledge and skills, field of work, implementation of policies and procedures. This is very important for administrators, especially implementation of policies and procedures, because we have policies and procedures, and the policies and procedures are flexible actually, but we need people to really implement it, because if we do not implement policies and procedures, then there will be a lot of problems later, if not now. Then communication effectiveness, improvement in performance after attending training, etc. Another part for administrative and technical staff are personal quality, leadership, managing ability, discipline, innovativeness, proactiveness, relationship and teamwork, and also integrity. And finally, this is a new part which we add to the administrators, where the Murabi part of it is there, additional ISAN contribution, teaching. Now administrators and start doing teaching, and they will be accounted for, not accountable, accounted for. And publication, we have started doing publication, writings, books, publishing books, and community engagement, sport activities, involved in universities events, and a special project, meaning that the assessment for academic staff and also administrative staff will look into some changes, focusing on certain areas and certain expertise that you have. I hope I have responded to the question.
Thank you very much, Datuk Rahim. The third question is addressed to Datuk Zailan. Given the current economic climate, there will always be questions on the financial sustainability of the university. What are the innovative initiatives from financial point of view that will be put in place to support SAF? Will SAF require heavy financial investment for it to be successful?
Thank you, Professor. I did mention in part of our strategy just now, we are talking about income generation, increased productivity, increased cost saving. Above and over that, we have another component whereby under the equitable distribution, how we distribute our money, our grant that has been generated, and so the grant from the government. The basis that we are using here is not other than the traditional one, whereby this year you get 1,000, so that the following year you get another 1,010. That is not the way of doing things. Management is that we are distributing the money based on the needs of our beneficiaries or our stakeholders. So that is how one of the initiatives that has been done for us. We identify who is our customer, who is our beneficiaries. We identify in my slide is what 5 or 6 of our beneficiaries. Every one of them needs certain amount of money. So that is one of the ways we will distribute it based on ideals, the whatever values that we have, the ideal, and also justice, and also this is all part and parcel of our distribution of our fund. Yeah, that we will exercise in our we set the priority. That's number one. Number two is that we are setting priority to which beneficiary that we're going to give the money, to allocate the money. Based on here right now, we are talking about staff, and also we are talking about the objective, and we are part and parcel of our strategic plan. So we are targeting, we are focusing our expenditure, our distribution based on that. Now we are talking about SAF to improve our teaching and learning, to achieve the SAF program. So we are focused on that expenditure for we call it under management, the strategic expenditure. That's we are focusing too. So we are more focused in our spending. Then come back to the question that is it a burden for us to cover the expenses of staff, developing the staff, and also and achieving whatever objective that we have. As mentioned by Dr. Rahim, it's not something new that we deviate totally from whatever function that we have right now. The objective that we have, we're still there. We used producing students, and then research and development, and also community engagement. It's all there, whereby we have done these processes before. There's allocation on that. Has been the money has been allocated for the past year based on that. But in terms of the new thing that we would like to have, the improvement of what we have. So seeing the people, for example, I mentioned just now that the major component of expenses is mainly the salary, which is being covered by the government. But I don't foresee any tremendous increase in our expenditure, and yet we're expecting, based on our strategic objective and initiative and strategic action plan that we have, in fact, of spend more, I think we can save more money out of it. Because in our initiative, then we are talking about sharing of spaces. We are talking about spirit of working together. So all these things, and then reducing of wastage, and we are talking about increased productivity. All these things will be reduce our cost, and then not only we expect more productivity, more achieving whatever we would like to achieve, but we expect in terms of spending, we will reduce the expenditure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Datuk Zailan. Good to know that we are now saving more money by sharing resources and reduce wastage. I'm sure many parents love that statement, actually. So that goes to for my last question to Prof. Norbert. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, things are now migrating to online. At the same time, staff has also given ample empowerment and flexibility towards staff to ensure teaching and learning is effective, be it in person or online. What is your plan to ensure accountability will be part of our values and ethics when dealing with knowledge and technological usage, especially now in the era of online meets and classes?
Well, kind of a very long-winded question. Anyway.
But you have only 2 minutes to answer.
Okay. I think the gist that is required in the question is on the issue of accountability. And accountability is a product of, is a characteristic of a human being, which should be the product of a humanized education system, which is very much the essence of self. So as far as accountability, I mean, when we move things on the internet, who you communicate with, sometimes it's very interesting. Some people say the guy at the end could just be a dog, so or just a machine or something like this. So when things move a lot on the online, the issue of accountability, answerability, and liability, and this kind of stuff become an issue that relates a lot with the values. And I really like to relate back to the clusters and the triangle that I mentioned. The 5 clusters that we have thought about and that we have planned to do are actually meant to raise the bar of the performance in terms of the technology, in terms of the process, as well as in terms of the people that are supposed to be providing this. A little bit of this I already implemented with my student last semester. We give them assignment, and of course I never get to see them, but in the assignment I will tell them everybody must indicate which part that you do. Is the group work? Student A will indicate, sir, I did this, because I said I may call you to really explain what you actually did. So accountability like this, I guess, will have to come with the craftiness and with managing the new changes that are happening there. So if we can raise this bar, inshallah, with the cluster plan that we have, I think then at least SAF has some chance of being successful in this university. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you, Prof. Norbit. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the 4 panelists. I know there are many more burning questions from the viewers, but because of time, it's not possible to address all those questions. Bear in mind that we take into account all your suggestions and all your questions, and we will come back to you with an necessary response. I'm sure all the 4 officers will take that very closely to their heart, and they will respond to all the questions that you've raised earlier. Now, I know we've only scratched the surface and we have not gone in depth as to the various strategic initiatives that the officers have introduced to implement SAF. And if time permits, maybe we can have another session where we can dwell into them more in depth and more clearly. With that, I would like to thank all the 4 panelists for their very clear and vivid illustration of the strategic initiatives of the officers, Datuk Rahim, Datuk Wan Hilmi, Datuk Zailan, and Prof. Datuk Norbit Bashar Idris. With that, I pass the floor to the MC to end the session.
Thank you, Prof. Ida, for excellent moderating roles. I noticed that Tan Sri Rector has been listening attentively and jotting down notes. Before we end, do you have any parting words, Tan Sri?
I would just like to congratulate all of them for giving a very thoughtful response. As Ida says, we're just scratching the surface, and indeed, when we meet face to face in the kuliah or wherever else, I think this is still an open-ended question. You are welcome to ask questions. The more you ask, the clearer it is, the better it is for us. So I would like to thank all of you for taking this initiative and making a very positive sort of impact over what SAF is all about, and hopefully this will be a new milestone for the university. So thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for your concluding remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of our webinar SAF for All session 2. Inshallah, if we have the opportunity, we will meet again. But for now, this is goodbye. I would like to also promote that we will be airing Sejahtera Dialogue at 4:30. It's available on YouTube. The link is in the email. Yeah, you can find it. 2 tahun menyemai sejahtera, I think. Dia punya tajuk, ya. Right. So thank you very much to our moderator, to our panelists, and also to our audiences and participants. Until we meet again, we end with tasbih kafarah surah Al-Asr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.